Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Good morning from southeastern China. It's 9 o'clock local time. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of China country food cooking. Now I'm at my home. This is the courtyard. And outside here is supposed to be a parking, but the renovation is still going on. There's my car. Here is the building. Oh, thank you, Katie. It's a 3-story building. The roof, made of metal, was added on 2 years ago. For the top floor, the ceiling of the building actually over years got a problem of water leaking. Then they just put the metal roof on. Here is the entrance, the door or the gate. Actually, this gate was also renovated a couple of years ago. It wasn't like this before. And now I'm walking into the courtyard. Yeah, Jane, this is my home, or my wife's home. She actually grew up for a couple of years, not for the entire childhood, but a couple of years in this adobe house. There's a pickup truck outside, hawking for some kind of a business. Oh, I see. The recycling of electric appliances for maybe your old air conditioners, refrigerators, etc. And you see, these things, 1, 2, 3, 4, there are actually 4. They look like big burners. Actually, I don't know how to call them exactly, but let me tell you this. This was used once by my mother-in-law, my wife's mother, here to make tea. The local villagers, they collected the tea leaves from the tea bushes in spring, and then they sold the tea leaves to my mother-in-law here, and then she processed the tea in those mixers, but with heat inside. Yeah, at that time she worked pretty hard, really hard. Well, my mother-in-law now doesn't live here. After my father-in-law passed away a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, before that, my father-in-law, my wife's father, suffered kidney disease, for which he went to a hospital for the regular dialysis treatment twice or sometimes 3 times a week. So my mother-in-law worked really hard, and they told me that this building in 3 floors was kind of built by my mother-in-law kind of alone. Yeah, they told me that she used to carry all the materials for construction. Those like cement, raw cement, carry all these from other places all here by herself over one night. Well, now she doesn't live here. She now lives in a city called Hangzhou, the capital of Hangzhou of Zhejiang province. She's there to work as a caterer for a company. This is what she likes doing, and she enjoys working there. And there's no blame because she is actually a very capable woman. But for so many years, she had to stay at home to wait on her husband. Another typical story of China in rural area. And here, the sesame opens. Here's the kitchen.
Hello.
My wife, one of the protagonists today. We've got two. The other lady is now helping with the stove. We'll see her in a minute. Now they are doing the preparation work. It's this turnip. Yeah. We got the turnip yesterday in the afternoon from the cropland. Now she's making the shreds of the turnip. One of the ingredients for today's Chinese dumplings, actually. And here, she has also prepared the finely shredded vegetables, bok choy, that were also harvested yesterday. Because we're in rural China, people here on the croplands, you've got your fresh vegetables quite easily. Here's another lady. 展川，跟我们观众打个招呼。This lady often comes to us for help. And a very nice lady, she is a close friend to my mother-in-law. Oh, 柴火太大了是吧？对，它的门口劈。You know, we're going to cook the food on the adobe stove, and people here use the firewood. The lady thought that the piece of firewood is too big. She's going outside to cut into smaller pieces. Therefore, we can put it into the stove. Oh, thank you, Lori. This is a typical adobe stove in rural China. This is something you can also find in some farmers' homes who live in the outskirts, in the suburban part of Shanghai. They also have that. So I would say this is a standard stove for a farmer in China. There are 3 woks, and each one is built into the stove. You can't take it out. It's built into the stove. So maybe you wonder how they clean the wok after cooking. Yeah, this is maybe the question that came to me always, right, before I got really used to it. And they used, anyway, she is now putting the lard. Lard, as I know, lard is very good oil. And my wife is actually a very particular whole food practitioner. She cares about health and the benefits of health and the freshness of the food a lot. Here's the lard. 你这个猪油的话是现在热了以后，
把菜放下去炒一下，
先炒一下是吧？
稍微炒一下，出水，否则水太多，包饺包不起来。
All right, so we will see what she's going to do with the lard soon.
这是刚刚切好的萝卜丝。
And what they do here is they use a scoop here. And when they wash a wok that is built into the stove, they first put water in. Yeah. And then rinse it. The wastewater, they use the scoop to take it out. And you just need to repeat this process a couple of times until you think that the wok is clean. This is how they clean it because it's just built into it. So friends, if you have any question, just let me know, and I will try to get your question and answer. Here in southeastern Anhui province, there are some local dumplings and kinds of food that we would like to show you. But today we start from the first one, something that people usually here make on a special occasion, like the Chinese New Year. But my wife, she does it maybe once or twice a month. And they call the food 包饺. And you can interpret it as a packet, as I call it, packet jiaozi dumplings. In English, I know you call it jiaozi, right? And but here, the local variety is bigger. It's bigger. And here we will also get to see what ingredients they put in a baojiao. They call it baojiao in Chinese, and how they prepare and cook it. So maybe we can pick some brain from my wife and also from a more senior lady who has always lived in this village. And here is the inlet of the firewood. People here use a ton. It's quite deep. And let me tell you what these inlets or outlets are used for, how they are used. But anyway, we will see it. They will start a fire in the stove later. And this is where the firewood goes in. It's quite deep. Yeah. And what they usually use to start a fire, maybe a piece of paper, but of course, they also use what is given here by nature. For instance, the twigs, the leaves, and also a kind of leaf that comes off a coniferous tree. It's like the leaf from a cypress or a pine, but those ones are yellowish, dried. This is the best thing here for people to start a fire. This is the best. So you need to get all these in the woods. The area is pretty lushy, a lot of hills and mountains. Just pick these. And of course, to maintain the fire for cooking, you need something bigger, like those bigger pieces of firewood. Yeah. 点火是吧？好的，你来点火。Look, there's no damper here. It's kind of all designed for once for all. There's no damper. You don't need to manipulate with the fire. It's all designed in it. Wow. 展川不急啊。哦，刚才那边已经在烧了。
这个不能烧，他说这个太大了，他得
太大了
小一点的。
Yeah. Well, this is where the firewood goes in, and here is actually an outlet. This part is an outlet for the ashes and the smaller pieces of the burnt firewood to come off, and also people can make use of those ashes and burnt firewood for heating in their mobile basket of hand warmer that I can also show you. And you know what? Between these two, the inlet and the outlet, there's an opening. So that opening, of course, allows the ashes and the wood to come down to the, yeah. And also the opening is an extra design to make the air circulate in the stove. Again, there's not a single damper here to control the airflow. You just need to start a fire. Look, this is what she's doing.
烧掉，烧那个菜啊，烧掉。炒那个菜稍微放一个好点菜。小亮菜红蘑菇咯。红蘑菇就是应该带个整个菜的。
Oh, Sherry, what is your wife's name? My wife's name is Wang Lan Lan. Wang is her family name, and Lan Lan is her given name. In China, our first name goes last. So in her case, Wang, which is the family name, goes first. It looks easier for me. Often I need to repeat the ignition a couple of times before I can really start a fire and maintain the fire. But for them here, it's just something like a piece of cake. Such a routine job. Actually, I quite like doing this and watching how the flames go up inside. I mean, this is the kind of novelty for a person who comes from a city. My wife is from this village originally, while I am from Shanghai. We just moved here, let's say 5 months ago. Thank you, Jess. She doesn't take your last name when married? No, Sherry, we don't do that in China. In China, a wife doesn't automatically take the husband's last name. We don't do that unless the couple agree to do that. It's not a custom. Look. And now they are using the main wok. She is using the main wok.
把菜稍微炒两下，把水出掉，再炒出来。
Oh. You know, minutes ago, my wife put the lard in a wok. And now there's ingredients in it. being stir-fried. And this process, my wife just said, is to get rid of the excess water in the vegetables. Otherwise, those ingredients, when put in the dumpling, will produce too much water. I mean, too much water is not good. Well, you need some water for the soup in the dumplings. Yeah, it's kind of like the Shanghai xiaolongbao, but here you will see it looks more like a jiaozi and much bigger, even bigger than a regular jiaozi. It's nice to get to know all of these people on your tours. It's really nice to learn about. But Ronnie, Ling, great to know that. Yeah. So it's always great to see how people live and work and learn something from other people. Yeah. You know, Chinese people, they use their wok quite deep. It looks like almost like a half of a bowl. Since the ingredient is in quite large quantity, so she is now taking here a wooden basin, pretty big, to contain everything after it is preliminary cooked. This is just the preliminary heating, cooking. Thank you, Maple. And now she just put some minced pork. The minced pork was processed earlier. It was mixed with some egg. 还有料酒也有吧？放了吗？ And also mixed with some small pieces of ginger and marinated in cooking wine. This is how she prepared the minced pork. Ginger, cooking wine, and some egg mixed with the minced pork. Now she's putting some extra dried small shrimps. This is basically how local people make their jiaozi dumplings. I would say that people in each area do things a bit different. Looks so good already, very healthy. Yeah, it's very healthy. And sometimes people wonder, well, people, in China, there's a concept. Maybe in English, we can say that is agricultural recreation tour. I mean, people have always liked this kind of a tour. They just on the weekend go to a farmer's home or their recreational house to enjoy the life led by a farmer, kind of. Yeah. And people always talking about how love they about the country food. While in big part, the charm of the country food is attributed to this kind of adobe stove. As the fire in it is very strong and different from the fire you get in a city from the natural gas. The fire here is stronger, and also the fire is also more spread out. Therefore, the food can be cooked thoroughly in a relatively short period of time. But of course, having said that, in Shanghai, when we lived in Shanghai, my wife also cooked Dajiao quite often. And of course, you just need to make sure the fire is strong enough when you steam it. And here is the preliminary process to take care of the ingredients. Later, they will put those ingredients in the flour wrappings to make a jiaozi dumpling. And eventually they will be steamed on a strong fire.
水都冇噶啦，一滴水都冇。那几个喂，你到光很喂。
Now I'm just sharing a picture with you. For people who are not very familiar with Chinese food, this picture has a lot of beautifully decorated dim sum. Maybe we need to distinguish the concept of dim sum from dumplings. Here we are making dumplings, but dim sum is more Cantonese. And dim sum seems to be more actually delicate with different colors, different ingredients, different textures. So I would say that dim sum is kind of like the French canapes. Yeah, more artistic. And you can find them in Cantonese cuisine more, right? Well, dumplings are more down to earth, something that you can make at home on a regular basis. And it's also quite, it's also quite filling, very practical. Just now she put some salt. And my wife said as to how much salt is put, it mainly depends on experience. Because every time, the amount of the ingredients is different, I guess. All right, so the first picture I showed, you see a dim sum inside. Well, here is the picture of Chinese dumplings. These are the orthodox Chinese dumplings, different shapes, just in different shapes. And here is an additional stove on the natural gas. There is a 煤气罐. There's the tank here. And our family, because my wife cooks quite a lot, and we use, one tank of the natural gas can last in my home for about 1.5 months to 2 months. When it's all gone, you need to go to a spot to replenish the tank. And we can drive there in about half an hour. Lala, 你们这边当地的煤气罐充一次多少钱？110。当地人是吧？对。Jess, is it expensive to refill? One tank of the natural gas here costs 120 yuan. 120 yuan, maybe something like in dollars, it would be maybe $18, $19, something like this. And it can last for 1.5 to 2 months in our family. But there's a discount that is given to people who live in villages around this area. It's a 10 yuan discount. So eventually, actually, people here pay 110 yuan for a tank of the natural gas. Every Sunday, we went to dim sum, to another restaurant and a fourth restaurant for the main meal. Okay? Yeah, Chinese food is very wholesome, I would say, yeah. And people here are also very particular in how the food is prepared. But I have to say that, these days people in the city, they don't really do their dumplings. They usually buy the dumplings, the frozen pieces in packages, as a matter of fact. Yeah, because they think that it takes too much time and efforts to do it. And also people nowadays don't get to meet each other quite often. Usually you are motivated to be cooking a storm when you are motivated by crowds, by people, when there's maybe a family gathering, a gathering of friends, So you want to do it. Otherwise, in a nuclear family, people now tend to not to do it. Even nowadays, in rural China here, my wife told me that Dajiao, the dumplings they are making now, are not really made by the local farmers quite often. Not quite often. They take it as something festive. So for the wrappings made of a flour, it's not something you can just get it anytime from a mill. You have to book it. Well, around the Chinese New Year and before the Chinese New Year, those mills, they will make those wrappings of dajiao in ahead of time. Then you can just get it, usually immediately. But these days, you can't get it immediately. Here is the excessive water or soup that comes off the vegetables. And this is something you don't need. And that's also one of the reasons why she cooked it with lard. 这些水要逼掉的哈。逼掉，不然不好包。And my wife said that, in Shanghai 小笼包 dumplings, it is the congealed pork soup that makes the gravy or the soup in Shanghai 小笼包. But here, my wife said that what does the same trick is the mixture of both the bok choy and the turnip. Because turnip, in the process of high temperature steaming, can produce, gravy or soup in the dumpling. What is gas tank used for if you have an oven? It's just an additional option. Because sometimes, especially in summer, when it is hot, people are not very motivated to start a fire in an adobe stove. And for something really quick, just basic heating, warming of the food, they maybe just use the tank, the natural gas out of the tank. Do you have a shortage of water as well? Yeah, Laurie, actually, I mentioned this once, but maybe just once, that we have been lucky. There's shortage of water from the tap in this village. But we have been busy because the water hose that comes to our house is a different one. And on the passage of that water hose, there are just a few families. Therefore, we have always had the water supply, except for just a few days. A few days we didn't have water. We also had to stock up water in certain periods of time. But most of the time, we don't have that problem. Just being lucky. Is that a water filter against the wall? Water filter.这个管子兰兰是干什么的？
这是跟电管，对，是跟水管打到楼上的。
打到楼上的是吧？
水管打到楼上去洗脚用。
Are you talking about this? The yellow one? It's not a water filter. It's just it's actually electrical wire wrapped up in this yellow rubber, hose. And but we do use a water filter because I told you that my wife is quite particular in health. And here's the thing. Here's the water filter. and we brought it from Shanghai. And yeah, here, this is the tap that comes together with this water filter, and they stored water here in this vase, big vase.
那个水桶是接水用的，否则万一停水就没水吃了那种。
舀出来哈。Just now I showed a picture of some seasonal produces in this region, just some of them. And you may try to recognize what these are. And the thing on the up left corner is typical donggua. But interestingly, local people here, they don't call it in Chinese donggua. They call it the opposite way. They call it sorry, I got it wrong. Actually, the up left one is donggua, and people here also call it donggua, and it's a kind of a squash, and you may also call it the wax gourd in English. Well, down right, the yellow is of course a pumpkin, while local people here call this pumpkin thing in kind of a opposite way. They call it a 北瓜. Very weird to me, actually. Yeah, 北 and 南, they mean opposite things. 南 is south, 北 is north, but here people call it the opposite way. Different from how it is called in Chinese by most other people in other regions. It's an interesting fact.展川，现在不去弄吗？需要弄吗？兰兰，现在？不用弄。展川现在先不弄好吗？他现在在弄。The bok choy. You can find the holes on bok choy. And to my wife, this is a signal of organic, or let's say chemical-free bok choy. Good thing for her. Of course, for anybody who has a, who has a discerning, everybody who with discerning eyes, it's a good thing, right? And here, she's also putting some tofu. 豆腐也放的。放一块下去。Okay. Yeah, I was a bit curious just because local people, traditionally, they do put tofu in the dumplings. But, as a person from Shanghai, we don't do that. So I was just still a bit questioning. Does she keep the water from the vegetables? That water from the vegetables. Nothing like fresh tofu. Nothing like fresh tofu. 这个豆腐是新鲜的哈。
今天刚做的。
It's a fresh tofu that was made this morning. Yeah, maybe nothing is as good as fresh tofu. Yes. The green juice she removed. All right. 你刚才那个逼出来那个汁水啊，菜汁啊，倒掉了是吧？John and Maple, she doesn't keep the water. She doesn't keep the excessive water from the vegetables. She already threw it away, she told me.
我准备炒几个蛋下去。
放点蛋是吧？
对，炒几个蛋沙。香芋。
There's one more important ingredient that she is going to put and mix it with the ingredients here. That is egg, scrambled eggs. Now she is going to cook the scrambled eggs on this stove, and then break the scrambled eggs down, mix them with other ingredients. Did she make her own tofu? No, Maple, she didn't make her own tofu. Tofu we bought this morning from a vendor. 火还在烧吗？没有，现在不烧了是吧？等一下烧，等一会儿再烧了。哦。打几个蛋花。打几个蛋花下去。Where is your refrigerator? Thank you, Kathleen. Here is the refrigerator. We brought those electric appliances from Shanghai, but not this refrigerator. The refrigerator is still in the apartment in Shanghai because our apartment in Shanghai is now leased to another couple. And here is a mixer. We brought this mixer from Shanghai. And this is a high-speed blender. My wife likes making tofu soup, let's say 豆浆, soybean milk in this thing. And of course, you can make you can put other ingredients in it and just make your own soup for breakfast. And here is the oven, a microwave oven, something my wife considered unnecessary, but maybe this is the difference between her and me. You can tell from this microwave oven that I am a city person, lazy. Look at those peanuts. So round, so full. We got those peanuts from a friend. She delivered the peanuts to us, to my wife, from another rural village in China. And this is the wine my wife started making a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago. And the base wine inside is Chinese baijiu. And the thing that is being marinated inside is kiwi fruit. Very small kiwi fruit picked from the trees in the wild here. Do your children like to help in the kitchen? They like eating in the kitchen. Very. They don't help. Maybe my daughter helps more. My daughter helps more. My son never offers to help unless he's pushed. 这是榨菜啊？
萝卜。
哦，萝卜。
我腌的萝卜。
从这个角度看，你还以为是榨菜。 pickled turnip. Pickled turnip.
这是自己晒的辣椒粉儿，我想准备放一点下去，就是带点香味儿。
再放点辣椒粉是吧？
嗯。
The homemade chili powder.
自己种的辣椒晒的。
Homemade chili powder. My wife said she's going to put also some of these in the filling.
放一点下去啊。这样提香。
提香是吧？
这个辣椒粉不辣的。
She said the scrambled eggs and also the chili powder can uplift the flavor of the filling. 展川，今天不弄这些了，好吗？今天先不弄了，这样搞得太累了。展川，
我跟他说过了。
哦，你在那看火就行了，展川，不需要这么累。
然后把炒好的鸡蛋花放下去。
You know what? Actually, local Chinese people, I often say that they work very hard, hard-working people, and my wife is also a traditional young lady from rural China. She still carries the traditional trait of working hard. And I often times have to tell her that slow down and don't work too hard. Don't work too hard. I mean, there are maybe two kinds of hard working. One is self-motivated. In that case, you can't blame. I don't make her work so hard, but she just likes it.
这是蒸笼布，这个蒸笼布就是垫了以后就不会粘在上面包胶。
哦，蒸笼布。This is a piece of gauze, let's say, and it is now being laid on this on it, so that the dumplings in the process of steaming will not stick on the bottom. I'm sure a lot of you watching there are also experienced cook at home and all Epicureans. So do let us know if you have any suggestions.
上面麻油。
还有点麻油是吧？
对，自己榨的麻油，装在这个瓶子里，很香，好香。
看一下 ，sesame oil,
芝麻
homemade sesame oil. My wife likes homemade things. Not everything from supermarket.
自己榨的。
自己榨的。
再放一点。
Does your mother-in-law's friends have family living nearby, or does she adopted your family? Has she adopted your family? Jane, she comes to help. We asked her to come help, but of course we help each other. And I mean, sometimes when we, like for today, every time, because my wife does today's dumpling every once in a while. So every time when we do it, and if the lady is here, we will give her some because she lives alone. And then she doesn't have to cook maybe for 1 day or 2. Yeah, she will take away some. And also, you know, on a daily basis, we also help each other. Sometimes we just bring something when I drive out to her when she needs something, because she lives in a house at a stone's throw from us. We can just walk it to her house in 2 minutes, and slowly in 2 minutes. Yeah. This lady has been a lifelong farmer in the village. She didn't work in any fixed job. Well, what she does now, well, all these years, is when there is maybe an odd job, for example, picking tea leaves, picking, other, materials grown in other people's crops, well, even in the crops of a more industrialized farm in the town, she would be called there to help. And people will pay her in those jobs. 展川，你一般性出去打一天工的话，他们给你工钱多少啊？
很多钞票一天打工一天啊？一般你去给打工一天很多钞票？100。
才100啊
？180。
180。
哦，啊？有一种是80，有种人家是100，80啊，不是哦。有的是给他100，有的是给他80。
真的吗？哦，这么少啊？
这个时候再花就是80块一天，70块、80块一天，再花吃自己的
，80块钱一天还吃自己的？
对，
在哪里摘啊？山上啊？
那上啊。
哦。Yeah, I just asked her, and she told me that, for instance, these days, and the time of picking chrysanthemum flowers, if she's hired on that kind of job, she's paid 80 yuan a day. This is actually lower than I expected. 80 yuan a day. Well, she also has to take care of her own meal. Being paid 80 yuan, you have to take care of your own meal. Wow. 还不包饭的。
放不下，自己
的。怎么会这么少啊？
来，这个是刚刚今天早上搅好的。
Is that part-time work enough to support herself? I mean, I would say kind of yes, because for herself, she's self-sufficient. She grows vegetables, and all she needs is maybe to buy some rice. She grows vegetables and maybe oil. Well, I would say that kind of money covers the base for herself, but you have to take into consideration that she has children. Her children work as migrant workers in other towns and the cities. So out of the spirits of filial piety, her children will give her some money. Yeah. No government support. There is some government support, but for a lady like her, we know that it's very limited. Why? Because this is something I mentioned earlier. In China, being honest, I don't even want to say too honest. I mean, of course, you can put that adverb too. Being too honest is considered a fool, which means when you are too honest, you are getting taken advantage of by a lot of people. I mean, she actually didn't get her proper amount of government support, the pension, before my mother-in-law helped her. My mother-in-law used to work locally as a scribe, who did the paperwork and wrote articles for the local office. But look, she wrote the articles for local officers, not always for for the officers themselves. She oftentimes helped the local people file complaints, against what happened to them as grievances. She did a lot of that. And actually, this lady's pension was raised to the proper amount after my mother-in-law got involved. They don't know how to express themselves, and they don't know much about the world, let's say. You know what? Actually, I've noted that because I oftentimes give people a ride here when I drive up and down. I've noticed that a lot of local people, especially ladies in her age, even in their 60s and 70s, they don't really quite know how to open a car door. I'm not kidding. I'm not saying that before that they have not taken anybody's car. Of course they have, but not much. And every time when they try to get on my car, they just come to my driver's door first, and then they figured out, oh, it's wrong. Then they go to the other, the right door, and then they kind of get on the car, in the right way. So I mean, yeah, it's something that gives you a lot of emotions upon seeing that. So the local Chinese people who have been confined to rural area kind of all their life, and now they are putting all the filling in the wrappings made of flour. Do you grow anything in your own garden outside? Yes, Barry, we do. My wife, of course, she does it. And we have some plots here and there. Some are a little bit far. Some are very close. We do that. Look, the size of the local jiaozi dumpling is bigger. And later, they are not going to put it in the boiling water. It will be steamed. Yeah, it's different. Yeah, Maple, those are big dumplings. The big dumplings are, I would say give a eater a stronger sense of satisfaction when you bite into it. And every time my son can consume sometimes 9 pieces of it. Yeah, and my son is 9 years old. He takes 9 of these. Bigger. I will take 3. Okay. I kind of take I take 9, but my son sometimes can take 9. Sometimes he maybe took 7, 6. My daughter usually 5 or 6 pieces. My daughter is 6 years old, on the way to 7. Yeah, really, a lot of things are happening around me now in rural China, especially for me as a person who came recently from a city, give a lot of emotions. You won't really be able to emphasize until you feel it. Yesterday, we also dug this thing, taro root. This is Chinese taro root, as opposed to the sweet taro root that I think you get maybe in other countries. A sweet taro root is bigger, but I personally prefer the Chinese taro root. People usually tend to like what they eat when grow up. It's very natural. Just like me, someone who grew up in China, and I don't really go for it, but I do eat stinky tofu. How did you meet your wife? Oh, Sherry. I met my wife in her tea shop in Shanghai back in the year 2011. Then she ran a little tea shop in a Chinese tea market in Shanghai, kind of in a downtown area. Yeah, and actually, quite romantically, we met for the first time in her tea shop. She's one of those people or ladies who struck out from rural China at the tender age in a town and city to seek her own fortune. 今天的话，蒸的话看起来时间来不及了。
来得及啊，马上就去蒸。
因为现在的话已经1个小时了，时间过得好快啊。
已经1个小时了。
已经1个小时了。
能拖吗？
拖当然是没事了。Do you think you would be living here if you didn't have children?
先蒸两一百的呢，这个看下的。
Jane, actually, without children, I would say that we would have moved here earlier with less hesitation. Being a person from city, but I don't think I am a typical city person. Among city people, I'm the one that is more traditional and not quite obsessed with those pleasures. The maybe conveniences I'm more on, but not those pleasures. Not too much. I do go for conveniences, for efficiency, but I don't go for much pleasure. I like reading and learning about culture, history, something like this, and learning English.
我们现在就去蒸给他们看，现在就在烧火了。
Okay, so time flies, but if you want, don't go. And we want to show you how the food is steamed. And the lady is now starting a fire. She did it immediately, maybe because there was a remaining heat in it, as she actually started the fire maybe almost 1 hour ago. This is for Chinese people in rural China. This is their fireplace. In winter, in the depths of winter, you just want to stay here. The heat comes out from the stove, and also you want something like this. This is a hand warmer with ashes and the charcoals inside, giving heat. All you need to do is after you start a fire, after a round of cooking, you get the ashes still with heat and the charcoals. Put them in this thing. Yeah, and maybe you can put some excessive amount of charcoal. Therefore, the heat can remain in this thing for a couple of hours. You can take it around with you. Hold it in your hands, put it under your feet. That looks a lot safer than the bamboo ones. Understand? A slower, more fulfilling rural life. I love the hand warmers. Such a good idea. Do you get much burning smell from them? Dawn, thank you for your question. I would say that the smell that you get from this adobe stove is not really a problem. Even for me, from a city, it's not a problem. It's actually the smell of the firewood that has over years permeated the wok and given the food cooked in the wok, built in the stove, a special fragrance. So sometimes people talk about how much love they have in the rural food cooked in this kind of a stove. I think quite a big part that is playing here is the wood. The firewood, has aroma, and over time, I guess it permeates the wok and gives the food a really nice flavor. And as I said earlier, it's also because the fire is stronger. Fire is stronger and fire is more spread out. there's no damper. No damper. All you need to do is just start a fire inside with maybe the help of a tongue. And it will go. Again, between these two inlet and outlet, there's an opening. The opening is designed for the ashes in the upper section to come down. And I guess it's also designed to help the air circulate in the stove. When they want to stop a fire, well, there's a still remaining piece of wood still burning inside, they just take it out. They take it out and then roll it down here in the stack of ashes. This is how you stop a fire. Do you let the fire burn itself out when done? Lori, I think I kind of just answered your question as how I understand it. When you want to stop fire, take it out and poke it and roll it in a stack of ashes down here. This is how you stop it. Yeah?现在在热是吧？
对，马上就可以蒸了，很快的。烧火的声音啪啪啪的。
那个呗，那个么呢？炒熟呗。
哦，像打架一样。
So friends and the voyagers, this is what I wrote on a piece of paper about how local people make their dumplings. And you can see on the left the ingredients, on the right side the seasoning, and the steaming in the end takes about 12 to 15 minutes according to my wife. She says sometimes 12 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, depending on the heat from the fire, depending on maybe the temperature and what season it is, and also, it's kind of flexible based on the experience of a chef, of a cook. Is your wife learning English as you? My wife didn't go to a high school. She stopped her schooling after she graduated from middle school. So I guess, yes, maybe now she has lived with me for all these years. She should have learned English, but she tried a few times and it gave up. Therefore, now in my family, there's not an ambience of speaking English, which I think is especially helpful for my children. But we are trying. My son is trying, and he is willing to speak in English these days, and quite brave to try. That's all good. And my wife speaks a little bit in English, but it won't be helpful in creating an environment in the family for our children. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can adapt the recipe based on your personal interest and the needs. So. So guys, I'm not sure if it is maybe too late for you. And it has been 1 hour and 10 minutes. Yeah, for people who think it is too late, just let you know that they are going to steam the dumplings here in this main wok. You can see the steaming. Yeah, and I think it is about time for them to put it in. Now they are doing it. 2 layers. And now go to the fireplace to attend the fire to make sure the fire is strong, consistent for the next 12 to 15 minutes. And after that, all you need to do is to open the lid and bite into it before, of course, maybe before it's too hot. I mean, my wife told me that when you make a baozi, like the Chinese buns, yeah, if you are in a city, you better let the baozi, after the fire stops, stay on the stove for a few minutes. Because baozi has a thicker wrapping, it's better for you to just wait a few minutes even after the fire stops. But for the dumplings here, these dumplings, because the wrapping is quite thin, there's no such problem. If you want, when the fire stops, you can just eat it. No need of waiting. John, my wife doesn't have an English name, and we tried to come up with an English name for her, but we found it a bit hard. And also, she just prefers to be called Lan Lan, her original Chinese name. And Lan, by the way, means orchid. It's a kind of a flower, but according to her mother, this name originally came up with the idea of a hard life. As hard, this Chinese word sounds very similar to Lan, which means orchid. And something amazing that my wife was born by her mother being her own midwife. Think about it. Wow. Okay, friends. And after today's program, we would also like to show you something different and local, or maybe something, that is the specialty of my wife in this kitchen in future. So I hope you can next time tune in and keep watching, and let's share our experiences. So I think that's pretty much for today. Now we are just waiting for in maybe 10 minutes now. Yeah. The dumplings coming from the stove right there. 但是还需要再等10几分钟呢。
不写的了。
啊？
喂，5分钟就可以了哈。
5分钟是吧
？5分钟可以噻。可以啊。
Okay. My wife said maybe now the fire is. 为什么现在只有5分钟啊？
它火大呀。
My wife said that the fire is strong enough. Maybe from now, it takes only 5 minutes because she wants to show you. So guys, if you want to wait, let's do it.
进来放这些是进入比哈，查来这么一放地哦，打不了。
主要是蒸这张皮，菜其实基本上是熟的了。
My wife said because she cooked the filling earlier. In that case, the steaming now is mainly for the wrapping and part of the filling. It won't take maybe usually as long as maybe 12 to 15 minutes. That's why, she said. 展春啊，你这个有些东家是给你，比如说180的，对不对？你什么时候，比如说是得到180一天的？采茶叶是吧？
采茶叶160。
采茶叶160啊。
160，摘花就80。
摘花就80啊。
采花好采啊，这个炒的就搞下来，抽的就。
哦。
采茶就是酱菜。
I was really surprised by the amount of the money the lady took when she went to somebody's estate for maybe chrysanthemum flower picking. And she told me that because chrysanthemum flower picking is less laborious, that's why they get paid 80 yuan per day. When they do maybe the tea leaf picking, which is more laborious, it takes more efforts and energy, let's say, they get paid more. 160 yuan, double. Yeah, 160 yuan per day. 8个小时了。
一天8个小时。
For 8 hours a day. Still not much, for sure. What is wrapping made from? Is it bought already made? Dawn, the wrapping we bought. And I can show you a picture of the meal, the little meal we bought from. Here. In yesterday's tour, in the end, we got those, right? And you saw the man beating down the Japanese raisin from a Japanese raisin tree. And this is how much we got eventually. And then, back home, my wife trimmed, curled the branches and useless parts, and this is how much we eventually got. After some, consumption by my children and a little bit by me, this is how much we eventually got. The Japanese raisin. It's sweet and it tastes in a little bit tint of longan, 桂圆. And you may maybe compare it with a raisin, kind of. And the picture now shows where we got the bok chai yesterday. The lady in the middle with a yellow sweater inside, she is a relative of my wife in this village. And yesterday she gave us some fresh vegetables. And at that moment, she was accompanied by 2 other peers, and one lady in scarlet was having her meal. Actually, someone asked about the smell you get in this Adobe stove. For me, I would say that another real problem is maybe the soot that comes down over time, like the dust over things in this kitchen. In that case, you have to just keep cleaning them. There are some soot. Maybe sometimes I asked my wife, is the soot inhaled into like your body through your nose is a problem? Yeah, this is the question I used to ask her. What's your take? Bok choy has holes. Those holes were left by the bugs. These days, even farmers in rural area, a lot of farmers, they also use pesticides. In that case, you won't see a hole in the vegetables they grow. Well, to us, those holes are a good signal of chemical or pesticide free. I think constantly breathing in suits could be problematic to your health. A good point, Dawn. Something we will definitely consider with more seriousness. 所以说之前我就说了一个问题啊，就是这个土灶啊，它产生的这个烟灰啊，长期的话被吸入体内会不会不好？
我不知道，反正这里的人都是这样的，一辈子都是这样。
A form of air pollution, I would think. 然后另外一个观众说是一种空气的一种污染。所以说 Yes, Lori. I like facts. I mean, let's learn these and just let me know. We'll definitely take into consideration. But anyway, people here, they have done this all their life, and also this is the traditional way for people in rural China to live on. It doesn't mean that it's right, but let's think about it. Did you have a gas or electric oven in Shanghai? James, for sure. For sure, everybody in Shanghai uses a natural gas stove. Everybody. Maybe some people use, in their rented small apartments, they may just use a induction oven for simple cooking. But most families who live in a proper family, they use the natural gas stove. A big change of lifestyle for you. That's right, Lori. Now the lady is taking out the ashes. Mm. 好像时间差不多了吧？好了，刚才你们说5分钟的话，应该也已经到了吧？我想。好了，我了，好了。来看一下。Wow, so cute, so glossy, so full-bodied. Each one looks like a chubby creature. don't eat it when it is too hot. I mean, there's a bad habit that exists a lot among a lot of Chinese people. That is, they eat food when it is too hot, and it's especially bad when you drink soup. It is too hot, bad. As I said, not every traditional element is good. What are people saying about the meeting with Xi and Biden in China? Wow, James. People here, they don't have interest in that. I mean, people in the rural area, they are quite practical, more focused on the personal life of food and money. And I would say people, they were just basically copy and paste what it is reported on the headlines on the website, in newspapers, whatever. I mean, because Chinese, they don't get, that kind of access. And even people in the city, I'm not going to mince the words, they have never received any proper training of thinking in a logical way. I'm not going to mince any words. I mean, well, people in rural China, they don't even have the proper access to any information, let's say. I'm not going to go ahead on that subject. I mean, all right, good. The lady is showing us. So yummy, so yummy. 展春可以吃几个？你可以吃几个？
可以吃好几个。你等我吃几个
6个7个可以的哈。有啊。
够了。
好，拍个近照。
好吃。
还有还看下，没看一下的。
好吃。
Good. All right. So before we finish, let me post the image of the recipe. Hopefully it will help you. And from here, I want to thank your support and interest. We expect to show you more things from rural China, how people eat, what people eat, and how food is prepared, and what the specialties are. I think that's pretty much for today, guys. Thank you so much for being on this tour in the past 1.5 hours. Of course, it was scheduled for 1 hour, but thank you so much. And it's also my and my wife's passion to show you the real life of Chinese people in different programs. I think in the near future, what I'm thinking is I want to have a program in which I show you how to do Chinese calligraphy, and in which you can also get to learn what are the principles in forming a Chinese character, and learn how to use a brush to write Chinese character. As part of the program, well, in the other part, my wife is going to show you how Chinese tea is made and how a tea is prepared in a ceremony or maybe casually at home, because she is a tea expert. All right, so guys, thank you so much for all the time, and hope you have a good day ahead. Until next time, they're going to say goodbye. Goodbye, 整琛，来跟观众们说一下，来自于全世界各地的，来自于全世界的，说一声再见。再见。会说英语吗？Goodbye. All right, thank you. Beautiful smile.